Welcome to another episode of Street Level Marketing. My name is Mark Lamplugh, where we're real people talking about real marketing strategies. Today, we're going to be talking about getting to the decision makers, hitting your numbers, and planning out your week. My first guest coming onto the show is Shannon Richardson. Shannon, how are you?
Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good,
So,
good.
I wanted to talk about, what we're doing to get those decision makers. I know when we're doing marketing, we're doing business development, trying to, sell our solutions to other businesses, to kind of solve their problems. What are some of those things that, we got to do to get past those gatekeepers, those people at the front desk
Yeah,
that aren't going to let us buy, aren't going to let us, are protecting the people in the back end, to make sure you don't get there because, you're one of 100 people probably coming into the door that day, you know, and, it kind of can frustrate a lot of people, especially new doing marketing and business development, where you're out there, every day doing the struggle and the hustle to, make your quota, make your numbers. And, you're getting all those no's. It can be very defeating, and, take away your mojo or, what's making you pumped about doing the job or, closing some sales. And you got to close some sales to make your numbers. A lot of these marketing and business development jobs are based on production and based on what you can sell, and how many, meet your quota for the month. And if you don't meet that quota, you're not going to have a job. So, give me a little bit of feedback about what you do, and how you see that problem getting through that to that decision maker.
definitely. So it's interesting you use the term gatekeepers. And I think that's one thing that's not talked about enough. People need to realize that, when you go into an office or a facility to meet with people, there's usually somebody assigned at the front who their part of their job is to keep you out because the people in the back are doing the important work. They're doing the things they need to get taken care of on a day-to-day basis. So they typically have somebody that they'll say, look, if someone comes and asks to meet with leadership or, meet with somebody at a higher level for a sales call or what have you, just take their number, tell them we'll give them a call back. Just a heads up, you're probably not going to get that call back. It's very, very difficult. But the main thing you have to do is you have to be likable and you have to be personable to those people that you're going to meet up at the front. Every person that you're going to come in contact with in these offices or in these facilities could be the key to get you where you're going. And the interesting thing is you don't know who the key is. You don't know who's going to be able to be the one that may be able to get you into the back, who may be able to get you access to the person, or even let you know who the decision maker is. So it's really about coming in. Don't come in hot. Don't come in, preaching about your product or your service that you're offering. I think you need to go in and they need to like you first. So you need to come in, talk to them, have a conversation just like they're just somebody you met in the elevator, and you can kind of expand into what you're there for. You don't want to be too lackadaisical. You don't want to waste their time, but you want to, let them know, hey, this is my name. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm offering. Who would I need to talk to? Who is it that would be the decision maker in this process? And what would be the best way to get a few minutes just in front of them? A few minutes is important because you want to make sure they know you're not coming in, especially cold calling. If you're coming in off the street on a random Tuesday, you don't want them to think you're coming in expecting 30 minutes of their time. Hey, it's kind of disrespectful to their business and how busy they are. But you want them to know, look, I'm very mindful of the fact that you guys are extremely busy. I just wanted to come in and introduce myself and see if there's 2 minutes I could have just to see how I may be able to help service your department moving forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's
Yeah.
really kind of, do you do any type of, uh, research before you go, to figure out what days and best to get into the offices? Like, how do you plan your day out to make sure that you're like optimizing your time?
100%. You need to have a little bit of background about where you're going because you want to know, what their need is. Obviously, you want to make sure your product or service, whatever it is you're selling, is aligned to something they're going to need, and you need to know why it would be beneficial for them. So you can quickly explain that to them and say, look, this is what we offer. I really think this could benefit you in XYZ way. So that's key. You definitely need to do a little bit of research. I'm an advocate of not going in with a pre-written script. I think when you have something predetermined that you want to say going in, you're spending more time thinking about what it is you're supposed to be saying versus actually just having a conversation. So I think it's important to go in, know a little bit about who you want to talk to or what it is you're trying to accomplish, but especially don't go in having expectations about how this is going to go. Like you said, you're going to get a lot of no's. And when you're in sales or, business development or marketing, you're going to get more no's than yeses. It's just the nature of the business. That's not going to ever change, but those yeses are what keep us in business day to day. So we need to make sure that we're emphasizing the positive and not getting discouraged by the negative. If you have thin skin and you get easily frustrated by having the door shut in your face, just think long and hard about if this is something that you really want to get into.
Now, do you if you get a no, or you leave your name, they tell you, "Oh, let me take your information. He's not the person's not available right now." How many times do you have a set amount of times that you go back? Do you try to reschedule an appointment while you're there? Like, what is your process? When you're hearing those no's.
Definitely. So you follow up is key. You need to make sure that you're following up at a regular cadence. You don't want to be annoying though. You need to gauge, is there an interest here? Are they genuine? Because people are busy. You're busy. I'm busy. We all know everyone gets busy, and you kind of need to gauge, are they blowing you off versus are they genuinely just busy and just don't have the time to have the conversation right now, but would they be interested in it? So I'll typically go into an office or a facility, have a very brief conversation with them, attempting to set up a time when I can come in and dig a little bit deeper. You want to make sure that you are, what's the best way to put it? You want to make sure that you are accommodating to their schedule. Look, we need to be flexible. If they say we can't do it during the day, but we need to do evenings, I've met people on weekends. I've met people, late in the evening. You got to make sure that you're willing to accommodate their schedule, because ultimately they're going to be doing something that's going to help you in the long run. But yeah, it's definitely beneficial to make sure that you have some flexibility. You're okay with taking a no on occasion, or quite frequently, to be honest with you. But you just have to be persistent with it. I typically will follow up, usually within 7 days, just because you want to make sure that they don't forget your face. Make sure that you're being proactive and popping back in. And one of the key things I do, which seems to work really well, it might be a little bit of fib at times, but I'll pop in sometime and say, "Hey, I was in the building and just wanted to pop in and say hi, see if, you guys had a chance to, talk with leadership or anybody about me getting back in." Sometimes I'll say, "Oh man, we totally forgot. We know you stopped by last week on Friday. Let me see what we can do." So it's really just about going in, being personable. They need to like you if they want to work with you, because if you're selling them a product or service, they're going to be working with you pretty regularly. So it's doing regular follow-ups and just making sure that you're there. Consistency. You will very quickly learn if they are blowing you off. If they're not interested at all, don't be overly passionate about it. You need to be respectful of their boundaries. And one of the key things, I've worked in a lot of facilities where you go in and they may already have a structure in place where they're using something that fills their need. And I'll often tell them, "Look, you've got something great over there. I understand it's a good product. I know quite a bit about it. It's similar to what we offer. Totally understand that. We don't need to be your primary. I'm perfectly happy being your backup for the time being. So look, if you're ever in a pinch where there's a product shortage or there's an issue with something that you're not happy with, just keep my information. I'm happy to stop out at any time, just to, make sure that you're staying front and center." And being that backup can often turn into being their primary down the line. Often.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then also, if you know what they're using, you can kind of give them some of the benefits of your product over theirs, and show them some of the more unique features. I always tell people, especially when they're selling like software or thing like that, usually a software has come out to fill the need of one that's already been available. What are some of the things that you take with you that you leave? Like you like brochures? What seems to work for you there?
I like brochures. If you have a product demo, I think those can be beneficial, especially if it's in a well-presented packet or package. So something that's a little eye-catching. I think that can be very beneficial. You and I have both had some experience in the healthcare field doing business growth and development for that type of an environment. And, everybody brings them lunch and everybody does kind of the standard thing. So they're seeing 3 or 4 of those people a week coming in and dropping off coffee or donuts or lunch or what have you. So you need to find something that differentiates you from the rest of the pack. So it's always nice to have something that you can present and kind of leave behind that says, "Hey, this is, what we have." if you can get someone's email address, it's nice to send a PowerPoint or some information. Personally, I would rather walk them through that in person than just blindly send it to them, because there are things you're going to want to highlight about your product that you would be able to do if you're there in person. And one of the other key things that, as far as a product or service you're offering, you don't have to have the best product, or, it doesn't have to be revolutionary or be ready to change the world. I think everybody kind of has a tendency to think what they're selling is the best that's on the market. You don't have to be the best. You have to have a product that's comparable and it's competent and good, and it's able to compete effectively in the market. That's reliable. Reliability is so key in sales. You want to make sure that you're meeting their needs from a reliability standpoint, but it doesn't have to be the best product in the world, as long as it's a good product and it meets the needs that they have there. The biggest thing becomes you as the rep selling it to them, because you're going to be the person they're going to have to deal with. So if it's an even playing field and you and 3 other vendors have a similar product, each one's going to have its own set of bells and whistles and features that differentiate it from the others. Some of those things will be important to some people, some may not be important to others, but
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, it's
Well,
going to be about you. Yeah.
yeah. We're going to take a break here for a minute. That was a lot of great information. And when we come back from the commercial break, we're going to start talking about how you go about planning your week.
That'll be good. Yeah. Good one.